Hello everybody and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Now, if you watched my last video, you'd remember that I'm starting a little series dissecting unique voices in pop music. And when I say unique voices, I just mean voices that singers use a specific affectation for. It's not a natural voice, it's a sound they choose to have. And everyone can agree that the first time they heard this voice, they all went like, oh, I've never heard that before. What is that? So in today's unique voice video, we're going to be talking about, you already know this because you've read the title, the talk sing phenomenon. For those of you who don't know, the talk singing voice rose to prominence in the mid 2000s, I think 2010 to 2014 kind of era, with singers like Kesha in the early days, Katy Perry in the early days, Lady Gaga in her early days, and so on and so forth. Now this voice is pretty easy to understand. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's talk singing. Instead of using typical vocal characteristics like breath support, balanced onset, vibrato, range, note connectivity, this voice focuses more on energy and vibe and dynamics. So the singer more so just talks the notes in a melody. So instead of straight up singing, they're kind of just speaking using different notes, but they have a lot of energy, a lot of dramatics, a lot of peaks and valleys to really make the audience engaged with what they're doing. You know what? Let me just show you some examples. That might make it a little easier to understand. Feeling like I'm a high schooler, sipping on a warm wine cooler, hot cause the party don't stop. I'm in a crop top like I'm working at Hooters. Popping bottles in the ice like a blizzard. When we drink, we do it right, getting slizzard. There's a stranger in my bed. There's a pounding in my head. Glitter all over the room. Playing flamingos in the pool. That is a tongue twister, man. Now, I know what you might be thinking. When I think of Katy Perry, I don't think of this voice. Kesha isn't known for talk singing. Why are all the songs you referenced from a decade ago? Okay, let me explain. So you know how in the baby voice video, the singers I referenced were well known for using the baby voice? Like every time you hear Hilary Duff, she sounds the same. Well, these singers obviously don't. Like Katy Perry doesn't sing like this anymore. Either does Kesha, either does Lady Gaga or Rihanna, who all used to use qualities of this voice. Why is that? Well, something that makes this voice crazy unique is that it does not exist anymore. Unlike other unique voices where they have their heyday and then they kind of transition into other voices, this voice had its heyday and then died. It just came onto the scene one day and then just as quickly it disappeared. So all these singers had this voice for a couple years and then they just dropped it and evolved into their like real voices. So where did this voice come from? Why did it rise to prominence all of a sudden and where did it go? Well, here's the tricky part. I don't actually have the answer. I did research on this for 3 weeks, and while I was doing my research, I couldn't find any history of who these artists were inspired by at the beginning that had voices similar to this, and I couldn't figure out why all of a sudden they stopped using it. So I had to come up with my own theories. So take these with a grain of salt because they're completely made up. You know how in the baby voice video, I could trace it back to the music video era when people who were not as trained singers but were incredibly trained dancers rose to prominence because music became a more visual experience with the music video element. I had artists from like 30 years ago who I could say, oh yes, this is where it came from. For this voice, I had no such luck. I had to just do a lot of research about the time and place and figure out why this voice could have come to be so popular when it did. And here's what I came up with. This voice is not so different from the baby voice in the sense that it's very imitable and it's not anyone's natural voice. So I think this was just another level of finding a type of voice kids of a certain age could sing along to feel their like fantasy of being a singer. Every time I think of this voice, I think of it as the preteen voice because I was a preteen at this time and this voice was in all the pop songs I listened to. These songs were targeted at kids my age. We couldn't sing along to those Disney songs anymore because we were too cool. So what was the next level? Fake rap. That's really what this is. We wanted to feel our rock star fantasy and we wanted to feel like teenagers and be cool. It was a very not edgy form of music, but for the age group it was targeted to. These songs just didn't feel lame to sing along to. They felt really cool to sing along to, and it was the next step up from those baby voice Disney songs. I don't know if any of this makes sense. Maybe I shouldn't have made this video when I did because I don't have concrete answers, but I've been looking into this for almost a month with no answers, so I thought I'm just gonna make my own answers. I don't really know where it came from. I don't know who the first person to do it was. Katy Perry? Kesha? I can't imagine that that was the very first time it came up, but in all these songs I've listened to and all these artists I've examined, I can't really find anyone else that did it before then. If you have any theories on why this voice came into prominence when it did, let me know because mine are baseless and made up. So Do you agree with them? Maybe. I'm sure you didn't. But if you do, let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!